Hello and welcome to Iron Sharpens Iron, a podcast where we as young Africans get together to discuss our pivotal role in shaping the collective future of our continent. I am your host, Letabo Satole, and on this inaugural episode, we are exploring how African youth are driving innovation and digitization. Our guests today are Tafadzwa Curated, a Zimbabwean entrepreneur and farmer, passionate about technology's impact on agriculture, and Rachel Kumwenda, a Malawian earth scientist and drone expert advocating for women in technology. Iron Sharpens Iron is powered by Nestle Needs Youth and Youth Connects Africa, and in the course of our conversation, we'll chat about how these two brands have partners to create this amazing platform. Now, without further ado, welcome to Tafadzwa, welcome Rachel. So I'm really excited to engage with you today, but before we get into the conversation, I'd just like for you guys to say hello to our listeners in your local languages in the spirit of Pan-Africanism.
Hello, I'm Tafadzwa. So in Shona, hello simply means Wadi to the listeners.
Wadi to you, Tafadzwa. Thank you so much. Rachel.
Hello, everyone. And hello in Chichewa is Mulibwanji. So Mulibwanji to our listeners.
Thank you very much. And Mulibwanji to you too, Rachel. I hope I've said it correctly. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to get straight into the conversation and maybe start with a little bit of an inspiring background on Tafadzwa. What inspired you to innovate something as helpful and forward-thinking as Musika?
So looking back at how I grew up and what influenced my decision was mainly how my parents faced similar problems as smallholder farmers. So you'd realize when you were growing up, you'd go to the field day in, day out during the holidays. But when it's time to go to school, we barely had enough for school fees, enough for uniforms. So that mindset, I already had a plan to say, all right, I have to fix this for my parents and the smallholder farmers within our area. So when it got to university, I got in contact with a couple of friends, that was Golden and Tafadzwa, who had similar backgrounds and similar ambitions to solve this for their farmers. So through iterating, working together and bridging our skills, we've been able to create a platform that's helping farmers in our ecosystem and in our communities to be better farmers and produce more and get more per hectare.
That's inspiring. Thank you so much for that, Tafadzwa. Rachel, you're the first drone pilot I have ever engaged with, and I'm excited to hear on what inspired you to take on this career path.
Thank you so much, Letabo. So basically what inspired me was looking at I went to college and did earth sciences, and afterwards I got into a course that I did drone and data technology. So with that knowledge and looking at how the high levels of unemployment among youth in Malawi were, I thought of starting the business in drone technology just to provide employment opportunities to young Africans, especially in Malawi. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I think maybe let's lay out the foundation of our conversation and define some things. Nestle Needs Youth is a catalyst for transformation that empowers young people with the skills required for the job market today and the future of work, all to ensure that the youth can thrive in the dynamic world of business. Together with Youth Connect Africa, these partners are powering a platform where ideas flourish, minds converge, and iron sharpens iron. Tafadzwa, I want to ask you to please help me define, in your opinion, what innovation and digitization mean in the context of Africa specifically.
Thank you, Letabo. That's a very important question. So, when we talk about innovation and digitization in our context, that is Africa, we're mainly referring to the creative and transformative use of technology to address the challenges, drive economic growth, and improve the livelihoods of people across the continent. Now, innovation in Africa stems mainly from the need, where we are developing and implementing novel ideas, strategies, and solutions that are addressing the unique challenges that we face as Africans. It involves thinking creatively out of the box and finding alternative approaches to the global norm to overcome obstacles and create opportunities. Now, in our context in Africa, innovation often focuses on leveraging simple technologies that are accessible to bridge the gaps in sectors such as agriculture, healthcare, education, finance, and infrastructure. These are mainly adoption and integration of digital technologies such as mobile devices, internet connectivity, cloud computing, data analytics to improve efficiency, connectivity, and access to services. Now, the combination of innovation and digitization in Africa is a powerful force. It enables young people to leverage technology to develop innovative solutions that are addressing societal issues, create economic opportunities, and drive sustainable development. So hence, by embracing digital tools and platforms, I believe African youth can connect, collaborate, and share knowledge, fostering a vibrant ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship within our ecosystem, Africa.
That's profound, Tafadzwa. Thank you so much for that. I think, you mentioned three words that are actually my three keywords for defining young Africans, and that's innovative, creative, and resilient. Time and time again, young Africans have shown that they're able to change challenges into opportunities. Rachel, just to segue into this a little bit, I want to ask you in what ways you think that Africa's youth are uniquely positioned to drive innovation and digitization in their communities in the context of where the world is going now.
Firstly, I think the African youth make up the majority of the total population in Africa, and that in itself positions us to drive innovation and digitization in our communities. And there are many sectors that haven't been explored yet, and it still rolls. So there are many, most industries that haven't been explored, and this brings the African youth at an advantage, positioned to drive innovation, digitization. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Tafadzwa, I want to ask you how you think African entrepreneurs can use digitization and technological innovation to enhance their business operations and expand their consumer and customer base.
That's a great question. So pertaining to this, before I get into the answers, I've got a friend of mine called Marvelous. Marvelous leveraged social media to be able to create a platform called African Food Finder. And from African Food Finder, I noticed within 1 year, he grew from, they said 10 or 15 followers, and now he has over 100,000 followers and is now generating revenue from that platform alone. So I believe that African entrepreneurs have an incredible opportunity to leverage digital tools and technologies to enhance their business operations. For starters, as I mentioned before, they can embrace social medias. The social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok have become powerful tools for business growth, where entrepreneurs can create engaging content, share and build a strong online presence. Furthermore, I believe entrepreneurs can leverage on digital tools that have been in existence for quite a while now, such as websites. But now the key to the website, it will be building a user-friendly website. You realize that a well-designed website acts as a digital storefront that is open 24/7, that is visually appealing, easy to navigate, and provide relative information about the business. Entrepreneurs can then integrate the online payment systems and allowing customers to make purchases conveniently and securely. I believe that entrepreneurs can utilize e-commerce platforms such as Jumia, Konga, and Shopify to showcase their products to a wider audience, which allows them to tap into the wider African market. There are also digital mobile payment solutions such as M-Pesa, Flutterwave, and Paystack, which entrepreneurs can offer seamless and secure payment solutions to their customers and services. So in conclusion, you do realize that entrepreneurs in Africa has to focus on harnessing the power of data. Data analytics tools can provide valuable insights into customer behavior, preference, and market trends. Hence, by leveraging this information, entrepreneurs can make an informed decision, optimize their strategies, and tailor offering to customer demands effectively.
I agree with you, Tafadzwa, in that being able to enter and participate in any kind of online marketplace to sell your goods or your services is indeed, what I would call a nice way for people to encourage market access, especially for young entrepreneurs on the continent. Tafadzwa, I do want to come back to you. You spoke to data, and I'm more of a literary person, and so I want you to please just expand on that point in layman's term, as the young people would say in TikTok language.
So, going back to what you term as TikTok language, I believe data is anything that gives you insights on the people that you're targeting. Whether you're targeting, let's say it's farmers, anything that can give you an edge to understand how well they behave, when do they purchase, when do they need money, how do they use that money. This gives you insights when creating your product or your service to be able to create something that is relevant and that speaks to their need and brings value to their life. So I believe using that data and analyzing that data can give you a very good edge when it comes to identifying your customer and growing as an entrepreneur.
Got you. I now understand that we can use data, to understand our people, to understand our services and who we want to render them to, or to understand our goods and who we want to sell them to as a competitive advantage. I want to come to you, Rachel, as a young entrepreneur who has innovated and created a digital solution for other businesses. What are some of the challenges or the bottlenecks that you've experienced, and how do you think governments and organizations can provide support to young people who are trying to endeavor, like yourself, to drive innovation and digitization on the continent? This is a very loaded question, but to add to that, I want you to maybe, drop some pearls of wisdom to young Africans on how you can still, notwithstanding the existing challenges on the continent, succeed as you have.
Thank you so much, Letabo. There are so many challenges that I've faced, and there are many ways that governments and organizations can support African youth. For example, when I was starting DroneLink, I did not have drones, and drones are very expensive. I had to hire drones to do my work until I got enough revenue to get a drone. So I think one of the things that the government can and organization can do is to provide access to funding. So a lot of African youth are facing challenges in developing their prototypes, and also they're having their production equipment because they do not have funding. And most African banks, even here in Malawi, require collateral, and it's very hard for an African youth who is just a recent graduate to get collateral. And so this brings us to where youth are failing to bring their innovations because they do not have the funding. And it would be good if the government produces funding that are youth-centered, also programs that will help in innovations and also digitization. And secondly, I would say that governments should also provide quality education. At this time, we need relevant education in our systems. So this will help us to innovate and also to bring digitization in what we're doing. And the digital market is growing, and it's time for us to tap into that market. And thirdly, I would also want the government to promote our local production, especially done by the youth. When I faced these challenges, what I did was to move with what I had. And when I did not have a drone, I had to hire a drone for me to continue my work until I got enough revenue to buy drones. So I would advise many youth that are out there, if there's still no access to funding. They should just use what they have and pleading with the governments and organizations to provide the support to the African youth. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Rachel. And I think that the challenges that you are faced with are the challenges that are faced with across many sectors on the continent. I'm just going to, highlight them again. You mentioned limited access to capital and finance. And this is a significant challenge for a lot of young Africans. And I think that the call to action for financing institutions and even people who are investing through private capital to find more innovative ways and more creative and blended ways to help finance young Africans and their innovative ideas and creative solutions to some of our continent's problems is something that we cannot overlook or overstate. So I'm happy that you mentioned that. You also speak to the issue of infrastructure deficiencies. And like I've mentioned before, and also like access to finance, I think that's also a common challenge that is faced by young African entrepreneurs across the board. And so again, I think there is a call to action to, help bridge that infrastructure gap that does limit innovation and does limit our ability to resolve some of the challenges that we are faced with on the continent, but also does limit our ability to become an economically developing and growing and sustainably so continent. The last thing you also spoke to, was the regulatory and the administrative burdens that are faced, all of that red tape. And I think there's also a need to help young African entrepreneurs navigate the cumbersome licensing processes, compliance, regulations, sometimes even ambiguous regulations that can be time-consuming and costly if you can't afford consultants to help you navigate that space. I do also appreciate that we can now use AI to help with some of these things. And I'm glad that you noted some of these very, very important challenges. I also like to speak to another challenge which comes up a lot when we speak about development in the context of Africa, and it's the challenge of education. Tafadzwa, do you think that the education systems in our individual African countries, or even collectively, are playing a role or can play a bigger role in fostering innovation and digitization? Can they help nurture and harness those creative ideas? And can they help young African entrepreneurs refine them so that they can go to markets in a way that is strategic? Can education play a role here? And what role do you think education can play?
So I think that education is one of the key things that can help a lot of youth and entrepreneurs get out there. If we bridge the skills gap efficiently, we'll be able to have effective digital transformation through new educational tools that are coming through. Let's look at Education 5.0. It mainly focuses on ICT and digital transformation at a very young age. If we have younger children understanding how much impact digital tools and digital transformation have on our economy and our growth, it will allow entrepreneurs to bridge and close the digital skills gaps that are around our African continent. So I believe that it's something that's instrumental and important in our drive to have a viable economy.
Thank you so much for your input, Tafadzwa, and I agree with you. Bridging that skills gap is where the magic is. I mean, we always speak of Africa being, the next frontier for global development and investment and trade. And we speak of this very, very unique thing that we have as a continent, which is the youngest and fastest growing population group. I believe by 2050, we will account for more than half of the world's youth population. And that alone should inspire new and creative ways of educating young people, and also starting to think of jobs of the future and how digital tools play a role in that. A message from one of our partners, Youth Connect Africa. Youth Connect Africa invests in youth's ideas and initiatives to pave the way forward for Africa to harness its true power by the year 2030. Together with Nestlé Needs Youth, these partners are powering a platform where ideas flourish, minds converge, and iron sharpens iron. Rachel, I know that no industry is without its misconceptions. And as somebody who isn't digitally or technologically inclined, one of the things that I worry about is people speaking of leapfrogging, let's leapfrog. And I know that in the digital and the tech space, it makes a lot of sense. And then to me in other spaces, I don't think that we can jump through or skip any parts of our development or industrial stages, right? And so one thing that people who don't understand your industry might want to say is that, do we have access to digital tools? Do Africans have the necessary access to the tools and the resources, soft and hard infrastructure that we need to usher in this era of digital transformation?
Yeah, I would say there are so many misconceptions about digital transformation. First of all, the biggest misconception is that people think digital transformation is not for small companies. But that is just a misconception, because digitization helps small companies grow. It makes them discoverable. For example, the use of digital marketing has proven to help a lot of companies be discoverable, and the coming in of websites help to profile some of the works that they have done. So it's just a misconception. And another thing that people think but is not true is that it's expensive to include digital technologies in their businesses. It's not expensive as compared to other forms of, for example, marketing. If you use, for example, digital marketing, you cut the budget, and it's actually really helpful, and it reaches a lot of people worldwide, not just in your country. So these are just misconceptions that we need to move from. Thank you.
Rachel, I want to come back to you and ask again if, on the topic of the use of digital tools and specifically small entrepreneurs, small enterprises, MSMEs on the continent, and their ability to leverage these digital tools and use digital marketing to advertise their goods and services, are the average African consumers able to consume that? Do they have the resources to consume that content?
Yes, they do have the resources to consume the content. And on top of that, I believe when you have your solution in digital format, you offer it borderless. You can reach to other markets as well. So you're not only targeting just African markets, but you can also go beyond that, which in turn will improve our economies and develop our continent at large. Okay.
Thank you so much. Tafaza, would you agree with Rachel?
I agree a lot, because digital tools and digital platforms have the ability to scale and the ability to grow. Looking at examples of startups that have actually having grown to actually exponential grounds, there's FarmCrowdy from Nigeria, where FarmCrowdy has connected well over hundreds of thousands of farmers to investors, and through their digital platform, they've empowered small-scale farmers and generated returns for over 10,000 of investors through their digital platform. Also looking at Flutterwave in Nigeria, I think that's one of the flagship startups that are in Africa, since it's now valued at over $1 billion. Their payment solution have catalyzed financial inclusion and e-commerce growth in Africa, because their platform processes over 140 million transactions annually and digitally. So through that, you'd realize that they've partnered with giants such as Facebook and Alipay to reach their impact. So the way that they're innovating their financial technology space and they're leveraging their digital platform allows them to scale and actually have impactful and huge growth in Africa. So I think that's one of the flagship examples that we can look up to and actually be proud of as having in Africa.
Thank you for that, Tafazo. I mean, thanks for making mention to the fact that digital tools have also inspired financial inclusion on the continent and reached areas where, the ordinary financial institutions had not yet reached, with mobile money services and solutions such as M-Pesa being widely adopted on the continent and allowing people to access financial services through their mobile phones. So I just wanted to look at some statistics quickly before we wrap up our conversations. So as of 2021, Africa had an average internet penetration rate of 46.2%, which means that approximately 46.2% of the African population has access to the internet. Likewise, about 80% of the African population has access to mobile phones. And when it comes to smartphone adoption, about 40% of the African population has access to smartphones. And so you guys are correct. Indeed, there is, a majority or a considerable amount of Africans who do have access to the digital tools that will allow them to consume digital content, but also buy into digital goods and services. Speaking to that, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development made mention to the fact that e-commerce sales in Africa increased by 40% in 2020, which is quite impressive if you ask me. I'm going to ask both yourself, Rachel, and Tafadzwa the same question, and I want you to answer it in a very personal way, as you are indeed the young African entrepreneurs that we speak about in this conversation, and you do represent them, and you have the ability also to inspire them. Now, what I want to ask is, how do you think that your peers and competitors can stay abreast to the latest digital trends and innovations, and what kind of resources are available to assist them? I know that we've highlighted some of the deficiencies, but what resources are there? What funding opportunities have you encountered that you have seen working for either yourselves or some of your other peers? What is there? What resources are there? And how can they be exploited to ensure that, we're staying on top of our game and we're constantly bringing the best of digital trends and innovations to Africa? Okay, so we're going to do something a little bit different this time, Tafazo, where ladies aren't going first. And you have the floor.
Noticed. All right. So speaking from a personal point of view and what has helped me a lot, I think that I leveraged on continuous learning, where I engaged in online courses, webinars, and workshops that focus on digital technologies such as data analytics, AI, and digital marketing. So you realize if you go on platforms such as Coursera or LinkedIn Learning, they offer a wide range of relevant courses, or even Google Digital Skills offers a free course in digital marketing literacy where it's certified and you get to learn everything that you need to know about digital marketing and leveraging digital tools within your business. One of the key things also was networking and collaboration. You realize that connecting with other entrepreneurs, experts, and industry leaders through networking events and conferences and online communities helped me a lot in my journey. Then in closing, looking at the resources that entrepreneurs can be able to leverage and find are the tech incubators and accelerators. And this is something that's upcoming, and that is a bubble that's very growing fast. And you realize joining these technology-focused incubators and accelerators can provide access to a lot of mentorship, guidance, and resources. Personally, one that really helped me was the Anzisha Prize, which has been a hands-on experience guiding me through business development and systems deliverables from the onset and changing how we handle our sales, marketing, our people handling, and finance. Another also good opportunity was the Youth Connect Africa, but we joined it as Youth Connect Zimbabwe. It helped us through guidance, mentorship, and networking, and allowed us to open new contracts and partnerships through their Youth Connect platform in Zimbabwe. So by having industry partnerships and digital communities, these allow us to collaborate with technology companies, startups, and innovation hubs to gain insights into the latest digital trends and actually move forward our company and our goals as a startup.
Thank you so much for that, Tafadzwa. I'm very happy to hear that you are a beneficiary of a project that was spearheaded by one of the Iron Sharpen Iron podcast partners, and kudos to Youth Connect Africa for giving young Africans that platform. Rachel, I'm going to ask you to please just help us with your concluding remarks.
Thank you, Letabo. I think as Tafaza has highlighted most of the opportunities that are there. I'm also one of the beneficiaries of Youth Connect. I attended Youth Connect last year in Rwanda, where one of the biggest things that I got was networking, where I had now networks all over the continent of Africa. And secondly, I would also advise the youth to also look on LinkedIn, where there are so many opportunities, not just on LinkedIn, but on the internet. There are so many opportunities that are there where they could apply and also get the resources that are needed for their particular businesses in technology. And I also was selected as one of the startups development program by African Union this year, which also helped me in the business growth as well. And this is something that is posted on LinkedIn and posted online. And I would advise that at African Youth, when we are online, we shouldn't just chat, but we should also look at these opportunities and utilize them, because they are there for us and they will help us in our different businesses. So just to highlight, I think the most important things that have helped me is, number one, networking, and also through conferences, and also the startups development programs. There are various programs that are there that help startups and also entrepreneurs. And these are what have helped me to be where I am today. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of the inaugural episode of the Iron Sharpens Iron podcast. We hope that you have enjoyed listening to it as much as we have enjoyed making it. It has been a really engaging and insightful conversation. So thank you to Tafadzwa and Rachel. This is not the end of our voyage, though. We have more exciting discussions lined up with a focus on young Africans and entrepreneurship. The next couple of episodes promise to be as engaging and equally thought-provoking. We encourage you to join us for those discussions when they are released. In the meantime, join in on the conversation on hashtag Nestle Needs Youth, hashtag YCA Community, hashtag Iron Sharpens Iron podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I am your host, Letabo Satole. Thank you. Until next time.